2021 is about your voice. Make your voice heard by starting your podcast today. We make it happen. Pretty Easy Podcasts makes podcasting pretty easy.
Aloha, I am June Jones of the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL show.
More burger! For the love of football! 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 Let's go!
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is For the Love of Football. This is the road to 2022, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
If you're not strong on the inside, you can't be strong on the outside. And as we await XFL announcements, we wait for that first strike, some kind of personnel announcement maybe. This week we come up with 3 candidates for the chief football officer, perhaps the sensei of the XFL. This is episode 156. The best defense, Bryant, is more offense. And I'm waiting for them to get on the offensive with some announcements. Just sitting here, I'm getting impatient, but patience, Bryant-san, that is a virtue.
Bryant-san, I don't know if I like the sound of that. We'll have to see how that goes. Alan, I know what you've been watching all week, and it wasn't XFL football. It was something else,
no,
for sure. But Alan, you just got to be patient. You have to be patient because if you remember, the XFL was slow to get up, but then week 5, that's what the game was really like. So we'll get there. We'll get there. More offense.
We will. Hey, so we usually get to this point a few minutes into the show, but why not just real quick, because it is that special week, dive into, where we were at this time.
Wow.
Last. Are you okay to go to this a little bit earlier? I'm going off the script here a little.
Yeah, way off.
I want to get the tears out of the way and just get it over with. So flashing back, road trip rewind, whatever you want to call it. Where were we at this point? Last year and the year before on the road to XFL kickoff, Bryant? Well, it was a pretty big week, so take us there. Right out the gates, we're rolling in the truck.
Man, why? Why do you enjoy pain? I guess without pain, one cannot understand. I'm just making up my own quotes at this point, actually, whatever it is.
your own Miyagi-isms.
Alan, so at this time, this exact moment last year, while we're recording this show on a Thursday night, is I was holding my brand new baby because she was just born on this day.
She was
1 year ago. So happy birthday to her. But in all reality, we were
1 year old, doesn't even have a job yet. Jeez.
All she does is eat. Doesn't even pay rent yet. It's unbelievable.
Not that cake, though. She did not want that cake.
No. What? Smash cake, kid. Google it. No, so we were on the road to kickoff. And by road, I mean driveway. And we were pulling up to the
I was
house.
on the literal road to D.C. and then to New York for the first games of the season.
Yeah,
1 year ago this week.
1 year ago, we were kicking off what seemed like the longest road ever in terms of a job, right? Because we were on the road probably. I mean, Vince McMahon said it was happening, and we were there. Since that point, we were kicking off last year, this time. So, it's a moment of silence, real quick. And 2 years ago, to maybe make things a little bit more. We were just still waiting for coaches. It was Super Bowl weekend, so we were still waiting for something. So that's where we are now. So I think that's how we have.
You were more focused on. Was that the Rams Super Bowl 2 years ago?
It was.
You were more focused on that anyway.
Don't remind me. New quarterback.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Congrats on Stafford there. And yes, it's Super Bowl week now. and we look back, yes, the XFL was getting ready to kick off, and now we're
podcast
here.
from the hospital room, by the way.
You did.
Yeah, that's how excited I was. I almost flew out. I was like, wife, you can watch the baby. I know it was born 3 days ago. Can I go to DC? Can I go? She didn't even say.
And then you missed
that's
out.
Why I knew I couldn't go.
You missed out on meeting Shane McMahon and
why did you
some
say
awesome
hi to him
XFL football.
When we saw him in St. Louis? I don't understand.
Did I see him in St. Louis?
Yeah, we saw him in St. Louis, but you were like, I don't bug my friends. So you didn't say hi to him. And I
think he was busy. It's like if I see you talking to somebody, I'm not going to go interrupt. I'm polite like that. But that's our check-in. Now here where we're at, maybe not the excitement there was last year, Bryant. And it's also extra depressing because Tom Brady's in another Super Bowl. And as a football fan, just really angry right now. But breathe in the nose, out the mouth, in the nose, out the mouth. I'm doing my kata, and I'm okay. I'm at peace with where we're at. I know some announcements are coming, but impatience is getting there for a lot of fans. I understand, and we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about some good news also for football fans this week that will be fun to talk about. 724-565-4XFL is the number to call. A different kind of opening, checking in, centering ourselves, getting ready for announcements to come and further checkpoints on this road to kick off 2022. Call the fan line, text the fan line if you want, and we will get you involved on the show somehow. We've got some tweets as well from some people we're going to read at XFL Show if you want to hit us up there. And of course, we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. You could get your own podcast started today by going to prettyeasypodcasts.com. Very easy to get that done. Yeah, show them the big old beautiful billboard with the white bricks. Man, remember bricks? I haven't been outside and seen one in so many days.
Well, ever since they took out your stairwell, I haven't seen any bricks.
When the Instacart lady drove into my stairwell, a whole nother story on maybe another kind of podcast. All right, let's think and dunk real quick around social media. At DukeX316 hit us up, Bryant, and said, I was a fan of the XFL and 2020 showed that they had potential. I loved the product and I thought it was exciting. But my question is, how many are looking forward to its return at XFL 2022? Hashtag for the love of football. And that's the question. I don't think it's on the minds of many of the people who were watching in 2020, honestly. DukeX316. The social media interaction is much, much smaller than it was this week last year. And Duke X brings up a good point there, Bryant. But that could be pandemic related. That could be the fact that there have been very little to no announcements since the announcement of the new ownership. So that is another fan just kind of calling out for some kind of thing to cling on to in terms of hope and hype, which we're keeping it alive here on the show.
We're trying.
And in our minds, but we understand fans are really getting thirsty for some announcements.
No, they are. And real quick, Duke X316, I know it's Twitter. I know it really doesn't matter, but sometimes punctuation does, because when you start off your sentence with, I was a fan of the XFL and 2020, it just seems like you're a fan of 2020 and nobody was a fan of 2020. Let's just be real. Yeah. But anyway, I understand where you're going with this. It is a little hard, I understand, for people to get excited. We are in 2019. If you're an XFL fan, Alan, you're in 2019. You have to have that mindset. 2020 was awesome. It was great in terms of football. See, here I'm doing it too. 2020 XFL football was awesome. But you got to get that out of your mind. It's 2019. We're looking forward to what can be the XFL in a couple years. So I get it. I think people are looking forward to the return, but also people aren't going to know. I think there's more people aware of the XFL now than there was in 2019 leading up to the kickoff in 2020.
That's true, but also there are a lot of fans who, even just friends and family, that'll hit me up and be like, what's the deal with the league? What do I need to know? And I'll tell them, well, right now you need to know it'll be back in 2022, and that's about it. Everything else is up in the air as far as
telling them that
I'm concerned with the comfort level. No, that's why. This is all I'll say is 2022, and in terms of what it looks like, who's involved, honestly, I'm not gonna give information I'm not concrete on. So, and that's what we do here. We do a lot of speculating,
you don't spread
looking
rumors
back,
and innuendo. You like.
I'm not gonna do that.
Factuals.
I'm gonna give facts and I'll give opinions, but I'm not gonna say this is what's gonna happen. Expect this. Although I will expect football. And that's all I care about. And you know, I'm going to say also, it doesn't matter if you're a loser, a freak, or a nerd. All that matters is that you become badass and follow at XFL Show like Duke X316 did. And that's where you can find some hype. If you want some badass hype and interest in talking XFL with you, we're the people to come to at XFL Show. So we appreciate it. Also, stay tuned for more stuff we're going to do with I know people clamoring for some Twitch action. I got that on deck. I'm going to do that, Bryant. I'm ready. I'm setting it up. I got the laptop here. I'm going to get some XFL Tecmo Bowl down. I won't be playing the college game, NCAA. People asked me that this week. Strictly Tecmo, because I'm only really capable of playing 8-bit games anymore because my brain doesn't function well with new games. Yeah. Live shows coming up, too. Bryant wants to do more of those. I hate HD. I've been playing. See those tapes back there? Can you see them? Can you see those tapes?
That's how you rewatch Karate Kids 1 through 3 right there.
Got an old tube TV shoved in this closet with the door. I ripped the door off to add another TV to this room.
Alan has only seen the first hour and a half of Titanic. Can't find the second tape. It's only seen the first half. Doesn't know what happens. Don't spoil it, anyone.
Same with the Godfathers, too. And, you know, who knows? Maybe this weekend with the Super Bowl, Bryant, you might get a social media video of me crying or elated or saying something inappropriate because Tom Brady's in another Super Bowl, and it just puts me in a place that I don't want to be, but it might be for good content at XFL Show.
Well, I mean, the best part will be he'll probably win and then not really do much to actually win that game, but still, for some reason, get a lot of credit. It happens.
Just hand the ball off a whole lot and the other team makes some terrible mistakes. He'll get another ring. Is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't want to talk about that game. Forget that game. If you watch it, enjoy it, I guess. Hopefully you're not around a whole bunch of people because we're still living in a pandemic, and that might be the contributing factor. We got to also be honest with that, to the lack of announcements, Bryant, which we'll get into later. Later on, we're going to talk about the next announcement we do expect, which is that chief football officer. CFO, who could be this chief football officer? Well, I've pegged a few candidates. We'll talk about, highlight their credentials, talk about whether they'd be good at the job, and throw out some other names. Kind of a difficult task. You got to really nerd out, and I'm sure we're going to see some of the great XFL writers that we follow, people who cover the league as well, come up with their own lists. I'm interested to see what people come up with, but these are the three kind of off the top of my head and digging into potential realistic-ish, maybe not totally realistic, guys for the job, for the chief football officer. I think one of them is a super long shot, but would be really cool. We'll get into that. But first, let's dive into this week's cover 2, if you're ready, Bryant.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Bow to me first. Now bow to the audience. Now we may proceed.
I'm wondering what the hell you're doing in this league.
I like that. We should do the bow before every cover 2. I'm in a way better place.
Well, the cover 2, let's just be real. The cover 2 isn't a place for people that aren't ready for football.
It's not. You have to be ready for football. You must be ready for football at all times.
No people aren't allowed who aren't ready for football.
You can't be a people.
No people.
Oh, you got to be a people.
No people.
No people.
There you go. Are you following what I'm trying to do now?
He's substituting people for another thing we can't say on the podcast because it's a kids show, kind of. NCAA football, kids.
Sorry, go ahead.
NCAA football, or excuse me, EA Sports college football is coming out. EA Sports tweeting out and announcing that they're getting back in the college football video game space where they've been gone since, what was it, 2014?
Yeah, I think so.
Denard Robinson on the cover, shoestring. We hope this game comes out. That got a lot of people riled up this week talking about it. And I'm excited for it. It sounds like they're going to go ahead and do it, and they're confident with the new NIL issues that we've spoken about on the show before in terms of name and likeness of college players. But technically, and I got this from Forbes, Bryant, none of the new name, image, likeness legislation that's even been proposed by the NCAA, not even approved yet, and the stuff that has been proposed would really make this a viable thing for actual images and whatnot of players to be in this new game. So they must be proceeding with this new game, not planning on having any kind of like association with current college football players. So even if you have, a super popular player, you're not going to get that player's exact number with their face in the college football EA Sports game. From what I've been reading and how the name and likeness situation currently is, they're going to proceed in another way. And I play a lot of like off-brand sports games myself where like none of the players or characters are real. Like I have a grand old time playing those kind of games, but I know people want the simulated feel, the real players. I don't think you're going to get that in this game based on what the current rules are and the situation is with name, image, and likeness in college football.
So you're saying that I am going to pick my team, UCLA, I'm going to play, and I'm not going to be able to play with 2021 Heisman hopeful Dorian Thompson-Robinson as quarterback?
No. So, and he's what, number 2?
Decides to sell, number 1. What if he decides to sell
number 1
his image to this game?
So you won't be able to play as quarterback number 1 for the UCLA Bruins, I assume, because the NCAA has proposed that compensating athletes for their name, image, and likeness is cool, but not in broadcasts and video games and other athletics-based activities. So these players are going to end up getting money for their name, image, likeness, but not in a video game, specifically citing we don't want them getting paid to be in a video game.
Okay, so let's kind of tie all this together with what this show's about, right? The XFL. So you're telling me that people have been saying that, hey, college players are going to get paid. So, hey, maybe they don't need XFL. There's money out there. So I don't need XFL money. But now I can't get paid to put my name in a game.
Nope.
I can't get paid to put my name like on a broadcast or something.
Nope.
Can't go to a show or something. Can't do any of that stuff. So how can I make money as a college football player that makes me not want to go to the XFL?
You can maybe sponsor a local dojo. You can maybe put your face on the billboard for a car dealership. Something like that might work out for you as a player. But in terms of getting paid to be
now,
in
if I wanted to go to like a roller rink
game, no.
And like make an appearance, I can get paid for that.
See, I would say no because I'm a big roller derby fan and that's a sport to me. And I would say that crosses the threshold of sports activities. So no. But they're making the game anyway, so they're going to go ahead and proceed with it. Who knows when it comes out?
That's the point. But, I mean, they're making this game, but no student athlete's really going to make money off of it, which is probably something that's going to make tons of money again.
Yeah, definitely. I would pay a lot of money. I'd pay the $60.
But if I go to the XFL and they want to make a game, hey, look, I can make money off my name and image off an XFL.
So the
game.
The XFL not being hurt, I think, by this new name, image, likeness situation in college football. We've talked about this in the past. Players, they could just make money now legally in college. Yeah, but with limitations and how much and how does that work? It's a whole new frontier. The XFL still in a good place. This I don't think is a threat. And also as a video game fan, I'm interested to see what the hell EA Sports does knowing all this.
I feel like college football is allowing their players to make money as long as they're using the name and it's hyping up. So like Alabama players, we'll talk about Alabama here in a little bit, can make money only if Alabama's making money or getting promoted in some way, shape, or form. Hey, come to the game this Saturday. Watch our star quarterback as he's signing autographs at the local car dealership.
Yeah, it's totally still in the same place where it's, okay, we're going to allow this, but we want our cut. That's kind of where it's going to be. And so everyone who got excited for this game announcement, that, hey, excited for a game, but I doubt it's going to be similar to what we used to play back in the day. And then also, if you're an XFL fan, as we talked about, who's worried about the situation in college football, oh, these players can just get paid there, then go to the NFL. XFL screwed when it comes to getting talent. Not so fast. I wouldn't worry about it. But also, again, there's no such thing as a bad student athlete. But there is such thing as an undercompensated student athlete. And this is lame. They got to get some sort of... I want some of my money going to this EA Sports game, going to the struggling wide receiver number 15 on the USC Trojans. Come on, this guy...
No, we don't want...
First
of all, we don't want anything going to the USC Trojans, ever.
I want to help this guy out. He's got to get in his Hummer so he could go out with his boys on a Friday night before a big game. It's tough out there in SoCal. I don't want any of my money go. Yeah, I don't want any of my money going to any of the Pitt players if I can set that, like, say where it goes, because I need them to be deprived and angry and fed up with everything going into a big ACC showdown. Maybe that's why.
You think the continuous losing seasons would do that to them, but I guess not.
They're mediocre 500 seasons. Get it right, buddy. All right, next part of the cover two. Bow to that one. Let's bow to the next one. Former Vipers offensive coordinator Jamie Elizondo is now the head coach of the Edmonton CFL team after, look at all the XFL ties here. XFL OC Bryant goes to the CFL to replace their head coach, who was Scott Milanovich, who was the very first ever drafted player in the XFL in 2001. Didn't quite make it to the field too much for the LA Extreme, but
Great
was
punter.
the first player taken. He's leaving Edmonton and the CFL to pursue NFL opportunities. So the Vipers' former offensive coordinator, who took over midseason and turned the Vipers around into a team that could actually score and move the ball, and he's now in charge of a CFL franchise. Very interesting XFL ties there, and also another opportunity for us to really remind people, hey, the Vipers may have had a crummy record, but damn, their offense was moving the ball. And when Elizondo took over, that's when it all turned around. You see that stat I threw in there, Bryant? You want to read that? That's a pretty sweet one, too.
What is it? After taking over play calling duties in week 3, the Vipers averaged over 29 points a game on offense. Like how you spelled offense, by the way, for the remainder of the season.
CFL.
Tampa Bay.
When you're talking CFL,
I
offense is spelt with a C, buddy.
Oh, I know this. This is why.
For all the listeners and viewers out there, too.
So in typical United States Canadian fashion, you're telling me that a head coach in the CFL is as equal value as an offensive coordinator in the XFL?
When you have as much CFL experience as Jamie Elizondo does, he's gotten to Grey Cups and, he's been there before. There's no, a coordinator from the CFL became a head coach in the XFL, Brian. The other way around. June Jones. So
yeah,
there you
June
go.
Jones. Don't be digging. Don't take a dig at June Jones. I will.
You're taking digs at the CFL.
Wait until the All XFL finals happen, friend. No, this is great. I mean, we saw the XFL kind of pick up its steam. We talked about it at the beginning of the episode show, where their offenses were. What are you laughing at over there? Their offenses were
the All XFL finals.
That was like 10 minutes ago, dude.
I know, it's great. It's great. It's good. Sorry.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Get out of here. The offense in the XFL was picking up steam. We saw the Wildcats Tampa Bay game, the last game of the season. Was completely insane. I was there, loved every second of it. Great. If it had to do with Elizondo doing what he did, and he could bring that up to the XFL, great. I'm gonna miss him. I wish he stuck around, but I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to coach more football. So, good luck to him.
Hell yeah, and we'll see. I'm excited for the CFL season, as I say it here every week, pretty much. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that. The XFL ties in the CFL. Real quick before we get rid of the cover 2 here. Bow to that story. Last one, Bryant. Got some video on deck for us because, social media gold. Nick Saban talking to a recruit here, captured on mobile phone video, a video of someone taking a video chat with Nick Saban, trying to lure the recruit to Alabama. It is so good here. We need to put it up on the screen, and let's watch this thing. We'll talk over it a little bit, and I don't know this. Let's see if he could convince us that if we need to be going to Alabama. Let's hit play on this bad boy. This is amazing.
Anybody in the history of college football in the last 12 years. Won more championships. We won 6 championships in the last 11 years.
Just reel it off all the
National
accomplishments.
championship game,
Of course.
8 out of the last 11 years. We've been in the playoffs.
So we lost 2.
He lost 2. Cobra Kai lost a few All Valleys, but overall they were in it every year. Finals.
Not as much as Roman Reigns was in the Roman Rumble.
When it comes to Alabama, it's all about the numbers.
Now, do you think he's doing this to make sure that he can, like, I trust his chair, you should trust me?
This is what the cool kids call BDE, Brian. This is the leaning back.
I think that's the worst.
Leaning back,
stuff
just.
that people can tell you.
I'm so good.
Like, first of all, when they tell you that,
He is true, though.
insulting. All right, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if you couldn't play here. Number 2,
Right.
when they say you can play at our place before you can play at Alabama, they're just telling you Alabama's better than them. All right, then number 3, all right, is if you ask our players on our
Is that a
team,
mask around his neck?
they'll tell you just the
I think
opposite.
so.
They'll tell you the competition may be better. You know, Marlon Humphrey.
There is no weakness in Alabama.
He played corner, first corner taken in the draft when he was a junior.
There is no room for players with weakness at Alabama.
Marlon was the first receiver taken in the draft. All right, Cam Robinson played left tackle here, won the Alpha.
If you come to Alabama, you will be a badass.
The Redskins, he was the right end. He won the Gersten.
Do you want to go to Florida and be some kind of nerd?
All those guys will tell you that made me better. Right. The competition made me better. The guy I
true.
practiced against was better than the guy I played in the
Every
game
single day. Working hard.
against. So don't listen.
Eliminating weakness.
Is what I'm trying to tell you.
Don't listen.
I know this ain't for everybody.
Listen
I
to
just
me.
love the lean
Everybody
back.
can't
That's
play
my
for the
favorite.
Yankees, man. I mean, you gotta want to be good. You gotta want to play with the best. You want to be the best. All right, so
Gotta be the best around. That's what I hear.
He's kind of also throwing in some of that Hawks coach from the Mighty Ducks. It's not worth winning if you can't win big. Oh, Nick Saban.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
So that bonus cover too there, that's just too beautiful. So that leads us to the question, Bryant. What kind of sensei would you say Nick Saban is then, based off that recruiting material?
I think there's only one answer to this question now, and that's him. That's
You have him as a crease guy.
Yes.
So if you're a Karate Kid fan,
We're
if
better.
you're a Cobra
They
Kai
suck.
fan,
Come over here and learn how to compete.
this is the question. If you're a Karate Kid Cobra Kai fan, then this is going to be a poll question we'll put up too. Is Nick Saban then a John Kreese, the creator of the Cobra Kai, or is he a Mr. Miyagi type? I would say hell no.
Nope.
That was like all the opposite of the Miyagi-isms. That is nothing close to Mr. Miyagi. He could be a Johnny Lawrence though, because like Johnny Lawrence would use a lot more
I feel like
colorful
Johnny
language.
Lawrence would be all the people off of the Saban tree, right? Like these are all the people that kind of are trying to do what Kreese did, but really can't do it as good as Kreese. Like I can't really be a
You
jerk.
think he's like a
as
Kirby?
much
So
as-
Kirby Smart's more like Johnny Lawrence
Yeah,
then.
exactly. All the
You want to
little
come to Georgia and be
branches.
badass? We teach you to be badass as a Georgia Bulldog. But we show mercy at Georgia, unlike Alabama. They're bad people. Or is he a Daniel LaRusso?
No, yeah, definitely.
Is he a
not
Daniel son?
LaRusso. No, I feel like Nick Saban could sell a car to anybody, but I don't think he's a Daniel.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Nick Saban. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess Kreese has to. It is my vote. He's as scary as Kreese. He's got a lot of this similar talking points in the pitch. He goes after top-notch athletes, which Kreese does. He
definitely
scouts the high schools.
Nick Saban in the 70s, like, definitely threw his, like, master into a pit of snakes or something like that. You know, that's what Saban did.
So then tying it back to the XFL, what kind of recruiters do we need with the XFL trying to get players college? It's just the Rock. We have the Rock. The Rock's. So the Rock versus, I think the Rock would win an All Valley if he entered.
An All Valley anything, pretty much. I think he would.
You think so?
Singing, wrestling, acting,
karate.
He'd figure it out. Really? Yeah. Look at that man. Come on. Who would make the best sensei in the XFL in terms of head coaches that we had?
I mean, I'm going with June Jones is like a Mr. Miyagi to me. Yeah. So I'd go. Yeah, I would go Mr. Miyagi all day.
I would definitely think
sure.
It's wrong.
Is definitely a crease. Just
trying to Boss. Yeah, probably. No, he's more of a Johnny Lawrence because Crease doesn't party.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a fun exercise and a poll question we'll put up at XFL Show for all of our Cobra Kai heads and Karate Kid fans. But if you're ready, bow down to the cover 2. Thank you, cover 2. Very respectful and honorable cover 2 there. And now we could take it to the main topic, the main focus, that chief football officer position. Brian, who could possibly fill that position? There are no candidates announced. There's no leaked candidates. There's no rumor or innuendo. So this is all just solely based off people we know are out there that might be available, might seem realistic, at least when you think about it some. So we're going to throw them out there, throw them against the wall, see what sticks. Just 3 names here in this week's Hot Read. First up, this week's Hot Read. Before we get to the first name, actually, Bryant, do you think this person's going to be announced in the next week or so? We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. We're Super Bowl week. Nothing from the XFL with all the football talk going around.
Can I do the show like this? Can I do the show like this? Okay.
Do it Nick Saban style. I will too.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Or is it the pandemic just keeping announcements from us? Is it because we're waiting for
there's other things to worry about than what the XFL is doing, right, in this world? I mean, if we're honest.
Of course.
But like if this podcast, we're a distraction. It's a distraction.
You think as pandemic news gets more hopeful, maybe that's what they're kind of gauging right now? Is that why? Or do you think this person, as soon as they're hired, it'll be announced?
I think... Let me answer your question with a question. Do you think the XFL knows when they're going to kick off in 2022?
The exact date, I'm going to say I do not. I do not think they have an exact date locked down. I'm sure they have targets, though.
Okay, so with that in mind, do they have a rush to bring this person out? Because you obviously want to get this person in. You want to get this person in to start working on this game, working on kickoff. But if you don't
getting
know
on
when
Zoom
kickoff
calls,
is going to be,
sitting back like this, talking to people they're trying to recruit to work at the XFL.
If you don't know when kickoff is going to be, or if you have targets, what's the rush of getting this person in? You want to pick the right person, right?
True.
If you don't have a dead set timeline, I don't know what the AAF did in terms of their timelines or anything like that, but they had a goal set before I feel like they actually did the homework. Don't want to be the XFL. Don't do that too, right? So take your time, maybe gauge when you should kick off based on when you hire this person. Now, if you have kickoff set for the weekend after the Super Bowl in 2022, and that's in your mind, you need to hire this person ASAP.
Well, that just made me think, you need to have your goal, right? You know what you want to do with the XFL if you're The Rock, Danny Garcia, Redbird Capital, new ownership. But you need to have a plan. You need to have a focus, and you need to have a base. You need to know exactly who you're relying on and what you're going to do. Ambition without knowledge is like a boat on dry land, Brian. So know what you're doing before you hire one of these people. With that said, let's go to that first person we think might be a good candidate. We're going to go with Doug Whaley, who was the director of football operations, or the head of football operations. I always get him and Sam's titles mixed up. whenever they were both in football operations. Doug Whaley was the head of it and a part of the previous XFL. Finger on the pulse of the brand, of the league. I think he'd be a fantastic candidate. He also has his GM background in the NFL. I mean, the Bills, who are pretty damn good this year, have some Doug Whaley fingerprints on them too. As much as Bills fans might not want to even say about that.
Or no.
But yeah, so I don't think Doug Whaley is like a statesman like Oliver Luck was, but this is a different kind of position that we've talked about. So that, in my mind, the football ops guy from the 2020 XFL makes sense for this job.
How different is this position going to be from what Oliver Luck did? Other than, like, he's still going to have to run the entire football operation and maybe not adhere to as many of those corporate people responsibilities, as we like to say, or as I like to say on this show. But Doug
So
Whaley,
it'll be a lot like his previous job then with the XFL.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm not discounting Doug Whaley at all. I've talked to him many times. I was able to talk to him at some summer showcases, at I think even at the actual games, if I'm not mistaken. I talked to him a few times. Great candidate. You're right. He has his fingerprints all over the XFL, all over the Buffalo Bills. There's little parts of Doug Whaley all over the place when it comes to football. Would it be a good candidate? Do you want to bring somebody in who has this much knowledge of what you did in 2020?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? And it was Senior Vice President Football Operations. Sam was director. And Doug Whaley, I think, makes sense here. I'm hoping people like him involved in 2020 are brought back if they're, inclined to and available. But to me, it makes sense. Not just a friend of the show, not just an awesome guy to talk to, but also a guy who I thought did a great job with especially the prep, the early, way before the season kicked off, football stuff in terms of putting the rule book together and getting partnerships with, testing sites and whatnot and recruiting players and getting scouting all together. Like, he was involved in all of that. I think would be an excellent CFO. Ran the draft.
Yeah. He
so
was
that
one of the first big hires. I don't remember exactly when he got hired. But it also made news. I think we talked about on this show the fact that he was pulled, right? He wasn't somebody looking for a job. He wasn't somebody that was just out there, maybe he was with the Buffalo Bills. He left that position to come work with the XFL. So, I wouldn't mind having him. I think he was great at what he did, obviously, in 2020, and he's a good man. So, if this is the type of person that's going to be, basically, it's a lateral move with a new title, is what you're saying. So you're saying that the chief football officer is going to be doing basically what Doug Whaley did in this XFL 2020. From
the descriptions we've heard of that CFO, that chief football officer job, it sounds a lot like that SVP job for a football ops, mixed in with probably some more corporate people interaction, as we like to say, that Oliver Luck did. But Doug Whaley, first name that popped into my head. If there is a lot more a commissioner type work, then maybe not the candidate you're looking for. You'll want someone like the next person on our list, who was the former ACC commissioner, just retired after a 23-year career in that position. John Swofford built up the ACC. As far as I'm concerned, there's a Power 3 in college sports. Brian, it's the big. It's in college sports. Yes, it's the SEC, it's the Big Ten, and the ACC. The Big 12 and the Pac-12 are there, and they do their thing, and they got a good team every now and then. But those are the three big hosses. John Swofford built up the ACC, engulfed the Big East, and then took all the best parts from it, except maybe hoops.
So he went to a pickup parts and just was like, I'll take the bumper. I'll take that right there, and I'll take this.
And, controversial type figure too, college, but it's college sports. So, like, super hard job, crazy job. He's 72 years old, recently retired, so we don't know, is he riding off into the sunset and actually retiring? Will be involved in other stuff? Or is this something that a guy like him would be interested in? A crazy, figurehead type guy in terms of, like, a guy with the experience, crazy experience, I'm going to say, in terms of being a figurehead type guy. So that would be more in the vein of what Oliver Luck did as commissioner with the corporate side of it, the business end of it, but also a guy who knows the sport and has a crazy reputation too, not just, throughout the East Coast and the ACC, but nationally, being a major figure in college athletics. So I think it would make sense to at least reach out to the guy, but who knows what he's doing now in his retirement.
Well, maybe this is something that we talk about in terms of what the position is going to be in terms of time. How much time is going to be taken up by somebody in this position? Because, something more important than anything is time. You have, and if he's going to get his time back and still manage an entire football league, maybe it's not a grueling job like the ACC commissioner is. Maybe it's nothing's harder than trying to manage a college football program or a college sports program as an AD. As a commissioner, you have tons of people just, doing this. In the XFL, you're not going to have that. So if he still wants to do it, it's a position that could maybe suit his retirement needs.
We'll see. I would say unlikely, but also the next candidate I would say is even more unlikely, but damn would be a home run. I would love to see it because I'm a fan of his. Louis Riddick, who obviously Monday Night Football commentator, ESPN notoriety all over the world, blew up in the last handful of years working there, but of course was the director of pro personnel for Washington and Philadelphia in the NFL before he became a TV analyst. He's being considered, I guess, currently for some NFL GM jobs. I don't know if he'll land one, but if he doesn't, is this a guy who wants to get into it that badly? And is it only the NFL game he's interested in, or does he just want to be in charge of personnel and a football entity like the XFL? Like, what an opportunity. We've talked about this in the past too. Like, being in charge of a team is cool. You're in charge of a whole league, reimagining a game and really putting your mind into the game and a real stamp on the sport. What a great opportunity the XFL is for that. He seems like a guy who might be interested in that, but also this guy's making bank at ESPN and has NFL GM at least chatter around his name.
Well, the other part of the conversation is, does the XFL want him? And I'll tell you why this might not be a great idea. Because if Louis Riddick does a great job,
because he said the S word on the air during a playoff game.
No, what? No. Cut
that
that
was
shit
just
out.
recent controversy. We could save it on this show.
I don't know. Louis Riddick, here's the reason.
50 push-ups on your knuckles.
Louis Riddick, you obviously, if the XFL hires him, want him to do a great job. And if he does a great job, guess what's going to happen? He's going to get pulled away from the XFL and into something probably high level in the NFL. And obviously you don't want him to do a bad job, so that doesn't happen. So as the XFL goes, do you want him to come in for a year, maybe two, do some magic and then leave, and then you're left with this position all over again? Like, that's a thought.
That's something I think is you have to consider with this job. Like, the person you make your chief football officer,
like Oliver Luck was in it for the long
signed,
haul.
Lock him in for the long haul, or at least a extended period of time. So, like, if you get an older person like John Swafford, or honorable mention we have here too is Bill Polian, and we won't talk too much about him, but an older guy with crazy experience, all the connections, everything you would need out of a person in terms of resume for this job. You want them at least involved in it for, I'd say, 3 years with a plan to succeed for their successor. Mm-hmm. A guy like Louis Riddick, who has a crazy career ahead of him, you're right. Who knows? Like, if you lock him in on a contract, but like if you don't have a plan for after him and planning for a guy like him, you shouldn't have to. He's young. He's got an incredible football mind. Like, that's also something to consider. So all three of these guys we brought up today, I doubt become the chief football officer.
I'll give a little chance to Whaley. I give a little chance
Whaley. Because it's so hard. We're really speculating here, but just bringing up the conversation around that job. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like, if I'm putting my money on it, I think it's going to be an older person, a guy who's been in the game forever in the 60s or 70s, like an Oliver Luck or a Bill Polian type person. But who is that person? That's another thing to consider. Like, is there a name out there that we're just not thinking of? Or, doing some research into
if you guys can
retired executives, available executives, available GM type people, head coach type people, thinking about all sorts of stuff in that realm, even coaches. Finding that perfect name is tough, and luring that person into the job might be tough, depending on how much this person's going to get paid, which we don't know. Again, speculation. And again, I hope it would be just Oliver Luck. Or no, wait, I'm going to campaign June Jones. Campaigning for June Jones in this role. Or just you need him as a coach.
What if he was? He's a coach. June Jones is a coach.
Right.
He calls plays.
Go ahead, get out of here.
Yeah.
But does it worry you at all that we haven't heard really any names about this position? If it's been going on for a couple months now?
The thing is,
realists here.
It's interesting because if this was like, last March or even February, there would be a lot more coverage of this. So it might leak in terms of who is being talked to or pursued or thought about. But with the lack of coverage, where it's kind of really in terms of the league right now, it's like it was, like you said, 2019 mentality. It's just us and the handful of dedicated XFL coverage out there. And in terms of major networks, bigger websites, they're not following the breadcrumbs. They're not following the money. They're not getting insider tips. We're not hearing anything. So I'm not surprised because of just where the league is right now in terms of its visibility. It's very, very cloaked right now. And
that's where we were in 2019.
And that's a good thing. You don't want like it leaking who they're thinking about for this position, because once they get this position, then they can let PR slips out, the little leaks here and there. This is this is a moment where they want to just be focused, doing everything in-house, not having outside distractions. And that's fine with me. But I want to know who this damn person is sooner or later, Bryant. And I mean way sooner.
I just hope that
Sorry I cussed. 50 push-ups on my knuckles for me.
Have you done 2? I can do clapping push-ups. I know you don't believe me, but I can.
I'm sure you can. You're a great dancer.
Yes,
it's like dancing
quick feet
horizontally.
They don't talk about quick feet. Do they talk about quick feet in Cobra Kai?
Not really. They don't ever really get into on the show. They don't talk about any of the physicality or athleticism, except John Kreese, who requires you to be a good athlete, like Nick Saban.
I gotta wipe down this desk after the show. Do you care how I wipe it down?
Yeah. So when you wipe something off, go to the right, and then use the other hand, wipe it off with the left. So wipe on, wipe off.
So wipe on the dust and then wipe off the dust?
Yes.
On the dust, wipe
and then next week I'm going to ask you, show me wipe the desk on. Show me wipe the desk off, and you're going to become a better podcaster. And you can too by going to prettyeasypodcast.com. Today, don't be a people. Hiya!
Don't be a people. Well, to Alan's point, catch us. It's my turn to try to get my job back here. Alan, catch us every single Friday right here on your favorite podcast app, Google Podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you give us that 5-star review and tell your friends about us. If you got a question, comment, or a topic you want us to cover, well, text or call that XFL Fan Line 724-565-4XFL. Standard text messaging rates do apply. Also, follow us on all social media gimmicks at XFL Show. That's always a lot of fun. I'm always on the Twitter, at least I try to be anyway. Or if you want, you can come say hello. Hi. Subscribe and watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/This Is the XFL Show, the official YouTube page of This Is the XFL Show. And as Alan just mentioned, don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pretty Easy Podcast. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and get started today, because they make podcasting pretty easy.
Mr. Miyagi! We did it! We did it! All right!
We did it!
And that's another show.
We did it! We did it!
We did it. Another
Alan,
show in the books. A year ago, we were looking forward to week 1 of the 2020 season. Now we're looking forward to a chief football officer announcement, or any kind of announcement. Patience, though. In the nose, out the mouth. The announcement.
Now, if Tom Brady wins, how bad are you hoping that the XFL comes out with something like the next day, just a mask
To distract me,
Yeah,
that would be the equivalent of a Miyagi hands to the healing hands. That
Yo,
would
trainer,
heal
come
me
over here.
instantly. Yes, that would heal
Medic.
me instantly. But hopefully we get something. More importantly, hopefully Tom Brady loses in the Super Bowl, and I'll have a smile on my face going to next week's show. Bryant, well, I'll be coming to you from another not XFL city. Pittsburgh, not an XFL city. Neither is Miami. That's where I'll be next week. Fun in the sun for next week's show. Is it sunny there? I don't even know. It's like 3 degrees outside here.
is it peacock season? There's always peacock season out there. I feel like
It's always peacock season. Yeah, get ready for some peacock cameos next week. Free cameos. That means a whole different thing in 2021 saying that. Peacock cameos. Peacocks are going to be running behind me on the screen next week.
yes, it's
from
true. We might
Miami.
be on
Get ready
Peacock
for that.
after all said and done, and then we wouldn't have to actually care about the show we put out.
I'd love to sign that deal. All right. We got anything left we missed?
I mean, let's just get there. I know it sucks. We were on the way to kickoff, literally days away at this time last year. It hurts. I'm gonna watch some games. I'm gonna watch that DC game just to bring back a little bit of the memories, just because I want to.
It was kind of jarring. I got into today's session, and Bryant was in early watching an XFL game on the screen here, screen sharing it. I made him turn it off. It hurt to see it. I didn't want to see it. I could play the Tecmo game. I can't watch a full game right now. It
still,
hurts. And
it's
we're
been
with you.
almost a year, but I will watch one. You guys have to watch one. It's go back. Watch
I mean,
the best
Johnny
XFL
Lawrence
ever.
and Daniel San are still not over Allie. I mean, how you that's like 30 years. You think in 1 year I'm going to be over XFL done
I'm
halfway
not-
through the season?
I'm not over Amy. That's been like 30 years, bro.
Almost. Damn. We're old. Not Johnny Lawrence, Daniel San old. But
Smile,
man.
people.
All right.
Smile.
Well,
Let's get out of here.
smile, watch Cobra Kai, enjoy the Super Bowl if you can. Go Chiefs, and we'll be back next week for another edition of the original official XFL podcast. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL show. Remember, they're listening.